Welcome to the Emporia Public Schools podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Allison Anderson-Harder, Superintendent. This podcast is our way to provide students, staff, parents, and community members easy access to information on a variety of topics. Below the podcast icon, there is a link to an electronic form for anyone to provide feedback or ideas about the podcast you may have just listened to, or to share ideas for future episodes. Today, I will be switching roles and I will be sharing information regarding district childcare and will answer questions from our Director of Community Relations, Lindell Langren.
Hello. Thank you for having me, inviting me to join today. I'm excited to hear about the child care information that the district is ready to share with our families and community. And I have a few questions that I'll ask you and we'll get started.
All right. Hard-hitting questions. I'm ready.
All right. The first question I was going to ask is, why is the district adding child care classrooms?
So last summer, Janine McKenna through the chamber had put together, it was a summit on childcare. And so we knew that we were having issues and concerns with childcare because we have lost staff members being able to join our team because they couldn't provide or they couldn't find childcare in the community. So we went to the summit thinking that we were going to find someone to take care of a problem. And then it became clear very quickly that we were not the only ones in that boat and that we really needed to provide some kind of childcare option for our staff members. It would be a recruitment and retainment as well as being able to bring our future students on site and into our buildings. So start acclimating them and just offering that. So we've been working on this since last summer.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like a win-win for staff, for parents, for just everybody involved. But I'm sure there's a lot to that. What is the district's child care plan in putting this all together?
You think, well, what's so hard about starting a childcare classroom? And you're in education, so this should be an easy fix, easy solution. And that is not how it is. So we work through the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, KDHE, and there are lots and lots of regulations. So if there is more than one childcare classroom in one building, then it becomes a facility. So that's how they would license it. And there are many, many more requirements when there's a facility as opposed to a childcare classroom. So we are going with the best way that we can start implementing childcare. We've been looking at this for years. Actually, a number of years ago, we had looked through our wellness committee at partnering with Emporia Childcare. And there were so many different challenges that we weren't able to do it at that time. So, but we are at a point now where childcare is an urgent need in our community and for our staff members. So we started working with licensing agents. So Jamie Roberts is our local childcare licensing agent through KDHE. And so she's been working with us. We've also been partnering with some other people to help guide that work. And so our initial plan was to have one classroom in every single building. So from our Jones building, our 6 elementary schools, as well as our middle school and high school. Construction has put a little bit of a snag in that plan. So we are doing one childcare classroom just in those buildings that are not under construction and are able, and we were not quite ready to go to the middle school and high school because there's also requirements on playground or outside access.
Okay, great. You mentioned a little bit about childcare license, and I'm sure that's quite a process and a procedure. What is the district's process in getting that license in place?
So we have been working on that, and this would not be one of my normal jobs, but I have, because I've been involved since the beginning, I've just taken it on, and Kate Cape has been a huge help. Dr. David McGehee, who's our interim assistant superintendent for business operations, has been involved. Also, Pam Stranathan, who's working with us as director of teaching and learning position through that contract with SDAC, is moving into that position next year as an interim. So she's been a huge help in helping us with the handbook and some of the licensing pieces. There's a lot of regulations, so we have to have the state fire marshal approval. We have to have an orientation. There's tons of training for anyone who would work in those classrooms because it is very different. We also have to be very cognizant of maintaining separation between our child care children that are in those classrooms from our school-age students. So they're not able to cross paths if they go to lunch or if they have to use the restroom. So we have to be very careful and think through all of that. One of the challenges that we're working through right now is recess time. So looking forward into the future, the plan is to look at putting up fencing and have a smaller fencing area inside our playground. So then that would allow our school-age students to be out on the playground and playing, and then we could have our childcare children in that area, and they would still have things to play with. But if we don't have that area, that separate area with that fencing, then we have to have a completely separate recess. So we can't have, even though they wouldn't be playing together, we wouldn't be able to have our K through 5 children on the playground with our childcare classroom kids. So working through all of that, there's just a lot of little pieces that we're having to learn and get things set up. And as part of that, we had our principals involved in that orientation. And I know we'll talk a little bit about the staffing here in a little bit.
Right. Well, it sounds like there are a lot of steps to the whole process and a lot of behind the scenes work as well. So I know we'll have to have employees and staff for those, but can you tell me a little bit, will the district be hiring additional staff for the childcare, or how will that look?
Yes, and actually I want to backtrack just a little bit because we had a childcare committee. So we had representatives from every building, and including transportation, our business department, as well as all of our school buildings. So had people very involved, and those individuals were invested in that childcare. So they were either young parents or they were working, their colleagues had a need for childcare. So they asked a lot of really great questions, and so they helped really guide us through what are some things that we need to be thinking about. So diapers and special meals, or if we have students with maybe medical needs or other special needs. So that childcare committee was very instrumental in that. So part of that too is then thinking about the staffing for our childcare classrooms. So there is different training and different regulations for that. So we're hiring at least one childcare provider per classroom. And so we'll have 4 classrooms and we'll have one per classroom. In addition, we're going to cross-train other individuals. So if somebody needs to take a break, or if somebody needs lunch, or if they're sick, then we can have that individual step in and we can keep that childcare classroom moving forward, because we're just doing our absolute best that there is not a reason for us not to have childcare on days that we have staff contracted. So our plan is to start as early as that first day in July. So if we have a new staff member who would qualify for childcare in the classroom, that we'd be ready to go. We're also looking at hiring a childcare supervisor. As we were going through the training, it became very, very clear that it was going to be nearly impossible to add that to the plate of our principals and our school nurses. So we really needed one person that was dedicated to that supervisory role. So they would have to look at immunizations. If parents choose not to immunize, what are the other requirements for that? Or what if somebody has chickenpox, what does that look like? Making sure that there's a safety plan, making sure there's exit plans, if parent contacts, all of that. There's just a lot of pieces that we need one person really focused on. And so the board has been very supportive in providing that. And so they approved the job descriptions recently. So we have posted on our website childcare provider and also that childcare supervisor.
Wow. So it sounds like there's several opportunities for somebody who may be interested in helping with childcare to look at the district and to be able to maybe fill one of those roles.
Absolutely. And along with that additional training and additional responsibilities, we did look at pay. So we're looking at how are we competitive. So staff members will pay what they would normally pay in the community. So it's not free. We wish we could do that, but it's not a cost neutral, even having them pay. So there will still be a cost for the district, even having that offsetting cost of staff members who are parents paying that, parents or guardians, I should say, because we might have some guardians who are grandparents and have custody of their children or taking care of their grandchildren. So that will help offset that, as well as giving them access to benefits. So our insurance benefits and some of those other pieces, they will also be eligible for CAPERS, and because it'll be under the school district. So there's a lot of good reasons why people would want to apply for those positions.
Yeah, the district is a great place to work. And so having some additional opportunities, and you mentioned that everybody could go to the website and find these jobs listed there.
Yes, absolutely. So go to our brand new website, and in the human resources department, then there's a link to click on for applications.
All right, great. A little bit ago, you mentioned 4 places or 4 buildings that would have those childcare facilities. Can you talk a little bit about those 4 places or 4 buildings, and then maybe why those buildings were chosen to have childcare for this fall?
Absolutely. So we were originally, like I said, going to have a childcare classroom in every school that we had, but with construction either finishing up or starting. So William Allen White would be one. So construction has not started, but it's going to start, and so that would disrupt that classroom. So these are the buildings that have finished their or will finish, because Village Elementary is one of them. So Jones Early Childhood Development Center, Logan Avenue, Walnut Elementary, and Village Elementary.
So those are the 4 that will be ready to go for this fall. Is that correct?
Yes. And I did want to add back on the childcare provider. That's a great job for parents who have school-aged children, because we're going to stick very closely to that certified schedule as far as those contracted days. So even in-service days or work days that are on site, we would have that childcare available for them, but they would still have the summers or the school breaks. The childcare supervisor position is 12 months, and eventually we would like to be able to offer 12-month childcare for all of our for the employees that we have room. I would love to be able to offer for all employees, but it's really what we have the room to accommodate. And there's just, like I said, a lot of regulations, a lot of training, so that person will definitely be busy 12 months out of the year.
Great. Can you tell me a little bit about what the eligibility and who can attend the Emporia Child Care opportunities?
So there's, depending on the age of the child, and we won't get into the weeds on that one, but really infants through children who are not quite ready to enter kindergarten. So those who are not old enough to enter kindergarten would be eligible, and those who are current staff members.
All right, great. We have covered a lot of different information about childcare, and hopefully some of our listeners will maybe be able to apply for those positions and help out in staffing in that, so we can get that ready to go for the fall. Is there any additional information or anything else that you want to share about childcare with the school district?
I would just say that if you have questions, reach out and ask us. We did do a survey with our staff members about who needed childcare for next year, not those that already have that and maybe are interested, because we did have interest in that because they might already have childcare, but truly those who need that childcare. So it's really, really important that we get this off the ground. We've been working really hard. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, but hopefully we can get those positions hired, and we are ready in mid-July.
All right. Well, thank you for all the information today. And as we conclude this episode, we would like to remind our listeners that below the podcast icon, there is a link to an electronic form for anyone to provide any feedback or ideas that they may have regarding the podcast that you've listened to, or any of them that you have listened to that are on the school district website. Maybe also to share any ideas for future episodes or other information as well. We will end on the Emporia Public Schools mission statement: we engage, we empower, we inspire. Thank you for listening, and watch for upcoming episodes.